Coming up in the next countdown LBL. Coming up next video. Title, nextVideo.description. Skip to this video now. Transcript for Sanders. U.S. not conducting airstrikes in Syria at this time. Happy Monday. Welcome to the briefing room. Coming Q for the Washington Bureau. BBC News. Afghanistan Kiki alongside Katherine Falters and Mary Alice Parks. Big week, a lot happening down here in Washington. We're gonna start first with that chemical attack in Superior from over the weekend. It is a top focus right now for the Trump administration. I want to go first to a piece of video from earlier this morning. President holding cabinet meeting talking about that attack. Let's take a listen. It was an atrocious attack. It was horrible. You don't see things like that as bad as the new users around the world just don't see those images. We are studying that situation extremely closely. We are meet with our military and everybody else. There will be making some major decisions over the next 24 to 48 hours. Nothing so that I want to bring in our ABC News contributor, retired Marine Colonel Steve Gagniard. Colonel, what could be the options right now from military response perspective for the Trump administration? I think one thing we can say for sure is that it has to be more impressive than the last stand in the last attack when we hit Syria a year ago. There was a very precise attack. It was on airfields intended to take out some of the airplanes that might have delivered chemical weapons. But it wasn't meant to seriously degrade the Syrian military. So, in this case, the day that red line that there was not stated but was clear from Mr. Trump's actions was that do not do this again. Mr. Side, he has done it again, and so the president's going to have to go back in and make some sort of a bolder military statement. So now we know that there's a new team surrounding the president. John Bolton be in its first day today as National Security Advisor to the president. Talk about just the dynamics in this situation. They think the first time that Donald Trump sent missiles over Syria last year, that was the first military action he took as president. So the team now surrounding him, how does this actually work? When he's actually being advised here about is that he doesn't have a Secretary of State at the moment. Mike Pompeo is just about to begin confirmation hearings. He's got a new stay on board. Just that teen. Walk us through that, Colonel. Yes, so soon, so jumbled. Comes on board with a career of foreign service expert, not points or spit, but international relations experience, of statecraft experience, and actually being in the trenches in various parts of the U.S. government. And he understands how things work, so the president does not have that sort of experience. The president obviously has his own strong views. I think in some ways we'll find that Mr. Bolton will finesse those views that aren't exactly his own with the president's, but again he is going to have to represent the president's views. I do think that Mr. Bolton will also understand, based on some of the writings he made last year after the U.S. attacked Syria, that I think he understands that Mr. Side has been made gains, as did that Russia has helped Assad make those gains, and that any sort of military resolution that the U.S. might participate in is no longer an option. So this is going to be only your retribution to tell Mr. Assad that don't gash our people anymore. And speaking of Russia, we also saw in that meeting earlier this morning the president drawing a tough line against Vladimir Putin. Let's take a listen that real quick. Man had, if he does, it's going to be very tough. It very public. Everybody's prepared. Price you will everybody well. Everybody you pay your price. Katherine Folders, I bring that you've covered this administration from the beginning. The president, very rare that he draws such a red line against Vladimir Putin, and someone who sees looking forward to meeting in just couple weeks. He says that they could have a great friendship. At least that's something he predicts, and as well. Signed, he have been very hesitant to speak out against Putin, call him out by name. The administration says that he is actually really tough on Russia. In fact, it's more the administration being tough on Russia and then the president. So I think it was a moment there that we have to and see if it's something he follows through. What you saw Lindsey Graham on this week saying that this is the defining moment for the president, that he will look weak if he hasn't followed through on. So definitely worth noting that he has caught a mountain. See where goes from. CB takes any action. At least rhetorically, it looks like a huge ship trying to present all of a sudden would be willing to go head-to-head with Russia over this issue, when it didn't seem like he was eager to do that over election meddling. Practice your act, and was really struck by the fact that it's here continue to sort of struggle with two contradictory statements. On the one hand, whining to saying that they were prepared to beat top, that this could not stand. The president was not going to let this go on, and answered some light. On the other hand, repeating what he said last week, that they are eager to get American soldiers out as soon as they finished the battle. Those two things might be hard to do together, and when I bring Colonel Gang and Barack into this conversation as Colonel, we have the last time that the president got tough with Russia, it was sanctions. If he's seeing here today that he's going to pay a price, what could be the options? They are more sanctions. What he'd actually beat half to Vladimir Putin in this case. Yes, I think it's gotta be sanctions. It's not going to be a military confrontation. Nobody wants to 222 risk World War III or nuclear exchange for the Russians just over Syria. Not that important to us. It's not a vital interest, but I think some of the things that can be done would be sanctions. But more interestingly, think about this. If the president retaliates in military way, that humiliate the side. That makes the Russians look bad because they're there to protect a side. So if they are shown to be infinite and not able to protect him, that the US can strike with impunity. You know, let's say we go in and take out like Ba'ath Party headquarters, and we take out military headquarters. And we hit the side's palace. And so that the Syrian people can see your leader who talks a big game is pretty weak, and that Russians have done nothing to defend himself. There are some mentioning ways to do that. I'm to Mary Else's point, I think. I'm not sure, at least in my mind, that there's a direct contradiction here. If you say don't use chemical weapons, you can go in and make a military strike. But it doesn't mean that you lock yourself into further ground combat or further commitment of troops and insert. He could end in the script very good explaining himself. In these terms, he could do one thing on one hand and something on the other. That would at least be plausible. So what I may be wrong with that, maybe what the president would put forward is, I'm gonna stop these chemical attacks. I'm also gonna pull my troops out of Syria. It's going to be a busy next couple days, and thank you, Colonel Gang will be there to guide us there. We appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you, said sanction. This Colonel coming back into here in the newsroom. You know, the other person that is a key focus and is being still popular out of the Capitol right now. Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook. He's getting up on Capitol Hill testifying tomorrow before a joint House committee. Mary Alice. There are members beyond members beyond members. They're gonna have questions, Mark Zuckerberg, tomorrow. All about what happened here, which priest book, Cambridge Analytical, and now he's 7 million profiles that were read. Rain will be interesting to whether this week is just griping sash and a lot of grandstanding for members of Congress that are eager to get tough questions to Mark Zuckerberg, and whether or not they actually do some hard policy right. There's a lot of people, a lot of American voters and members of the held up there who think that some real regulation might he needed, but that's hard work, not takes leading experts together in a room putting pen to paper, and I am not sure that's what this week will entail. This week by the a lot of a TV, you know. What do you think I mean is obviously Cambridge Analytical, of the firm hired by that firm campaign to help that campaign, and the RNC bolt saving just used Cambridge's method and use any intervene rye. They tried to distance themselves from this event, the campaign in the currency, saying that came in saying that the RNC voter data in the cameras and limited data, but the reality is that Cambridge Analytic, that firm hired about it from campaign, their other folks, their employees were working. And Trump Tower down in Texas, they have people beyond the RNC, they have people on the ground there, so much as they do trying distance from that. You know, it's on paper and it paid rent them, so I think to your point, I agree with all of that. There are some calls for changes in policy, Facebook's relationship with cameras and right. But also, you heard Sarah in the briefing today. This is kind of funny, yet she was asked them what the president thinks that Mark Zuckerberg apparently said before, but aren't you know, will there be any specific policy announcements? Some calls on the Hill that we've seen it, she said, not yet. So another thing that we should be in this week, I can anticipate the president responding to this and some, but I think it's better now that Facebook and poetic lasting for today. A nice story. Senator Tammy Duckworth, the junior senator from Illinois, gave birth to a baby girl today in her house. She becomes the first sitting U.S. senator to give birth while in office. Brought her second daughter. It's exciting news, and also a new senator sworn in today. Another woman representing Mississippi. Definitely a high mark for women there in the upper chamber on Capitol Hill. It's an exciting day looking ahead to the past. Still here, so now 23. Seeing some pretty good stand-up, still far from the yes. Getting there. We'll keep an eye on. Regrets to Senator Duckworth that they do it for us in the briefing room today for capitalism. Mary Alice Parks. I'm John Sand teaching major. Download BBC News and always that ubcnews.com for all the latest. Have a great day. This transcript has been automatically generated and may not be 100% accurate.